Even more depressing than the economy are the bands that are now considered dad rock. We got to talk about this next. I'm stuck. I'm stuck. What you just told me, Lewis just told me.
Let's keep this depression going.
Special K for dinner and Lucky Charms for dessert.
I did. I used to be a cereal person, man. You could go into our kitchen, and there's probably like 10 boxes of cereal of different kinds. Because you had your dinner cereals, which was like your Wheaties, your Raisin Bran, your Special K, your healthy like wheat and barley type cereals. But then you had like your Lucky Charms, your
Fruity
Peanut
Pebbles.
Butter Puffs, your Fruity. Those are your dessert cereals.
Right.
Except for Captain Crunch. I love Captain Crunch, but let's be honest, Captain Crunch will tear up a human being's mouth.
You gotta let it sit for a little bit, like grape nuts.
Dude, you can pour an entire gallon of milk on grape nuts and they won't get soggy.
You gotta wait 15 minutes before you even touch them.
Do you wear your Skechers while you eat your grape nuts?
Oh, my gosh. And that brings us to dad rock. Man. I'm looking at this. So this kid made this video, and he was telling his dad, these songs are now dad rock, and he started playing them, and the expressions that are coming off the dad's face, he's like, he can't believe this. And, you consider how long these bands have actually been around, and it makes sense. I mean,
So can you define dad rock? Because I asked yesterday if it was yacht rock, and you said no.
Well, no, because yacht rock is like Jimmy Buffett is yacht rock.
Yeah, Manilow is yacht rock.
Yeah, we're talking like Christopher Cross, things like that.
Yeah. I fought this yesterday when we were talking about this because I was like, nope, because you don't want to hear like System of a Down being considered dad rock. But when you think about it, I'll use myself for an example. Growing up in the 90s, if someone listened to Skynyrd, Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith at a certain stage,
right,
those were considered dad rock, right? For the most part?
Yeah.
70s to 90s.
Yeah.
20-year gap. If you think about now, Linkin Park, System of a Down, Nirvana, Pearl Jam.
So just stuff the dad grew up with. If the dad grew up in the 90s and early 2000s.
This is now 20 years between. I mean, again, I wouldn't call Linkin Park dad rock, but if you do the math,
it is.
It is.
Well, I mean,
let that sink in.
You
it
think
hurts.
About some of these bands that have been around really for 20 to 30 years.
So like Pearl Jam, Chili Peppers, Tom Petty, all that's all dad rock.
Even Slipknot is now considered dad rock. Like you said, System of a Down. This is dad rock. 3 Days Grace. So, I mean, this is your teenage son is telling you this, but it's just kind of, time goes by so quick, but you don't realize it. I mean, Deftones. So my 14-year-old niece, her favorite band in the world is Deftones. That's all she wanted to do was go to Sonic Temple this year and crowd surf to Deftones, which she got to do, and she still talks about it every day. And they're calling this dad rock.
But it makes sense because while we were discovering Pearl Jam and Linkin Park and Nirvana and Candlebox and all these bands, Dad was jamming out to Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd,
right,
and Motley Crue and, Rat and Poison. Well, maybe not Poison, but, some of those other bands.
Well, no, a lot of them were.
So, I mean, it does kind of make sense.
But, I guess to think back, growing up in the 80s, Led Zeppelin's prime was already past. I mean, John Bonham had already died before I really got into Led Zeppelin. I got into them because of my mom.
Yeah.
And I discovered them, I had become a major Zeppelin fan by the late 80s, even though we were over 10 years past their last album.
James said, okay, so one of my son's friends was over, and she said she was really into classic rock. And I said, oh, yeah, like who? And she said, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Nirvana, and Soundgarden, and my jaw dropped. Because we still think of classic rock as Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd.
Right, the Who, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones.
Exactly. Foghat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Boston.
Right.
Heart.
You know. Nobody is going to go, Godsmack is not classic rock. Newsflash, Godsmack, 20 years old.
So what is so do we need to move past calling classic rock call it oldies, and now dad rock is classic rock? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So this is now classic rock. I can't even do that. This is now classic rock. That is bizarre to me.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Welcome to the world we live in.
Damn it.
Hurts, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I remember when they released
Skechers and Avenged Sevenfold, and I'm done.
Well, yeah, but even a couple of years ago when they released the 20th anniversary of Hybrid Theory, I'm like, no, he's not. It's 20 years old.
It is.
And now Pearl Jam, 30 years old. They're just, they're just going to release the 30th anniversary of In Utero with 53 unreleased
Nirvana.
Yeah. So, I mean...
53 never before heard songs.
Yeah.
I mean, now, usually there's a reason, right, that they're never before heard.
Yeah, but some of those are good. I mean, Linkin Park, Lost is great. Lost is a great record.
Yeah.
So,
We'll see.
It's just we're always adjusting, I think, to being older or getting older. Like the first time somebody calls you ma'am or sir, you're like, wait a minute, I'm not a ma'am. I'm a kid. No, you're 30. But so this is just another one of those little adjustments you need to make, is that all that music is old. It's all old. No kids grew up with that. We grew up with it, or we were in our, our prime adult time.
But they're still making good new music, though. That's the thing.
Not for kids these days, though. I mean, look at it this way. Look what we grew up with compared to what they're growing up with now. We got the benefit of that. I mean, come on. Would you have much rather grown up with Nirvana, or would you much rather, have grown up with Fall Out Boy? Nothing against Fall Out Boy.
Yeah, Nirvana.
Right.
Yeah. For sure.
But
remember when the parents all thought Elvis sucked?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
that's
it's
true.
That's us. We're just going to always think the newer stuff is not as good as what we grew up with.
But I love, you think about Shinedown. I think Planet Zero is an incredible album. I love Falling in Reverse.
There's some good new bands. I will say rock is offering a much better helping of good new bands as opposed to what other formats, the pop format.
It's all the same.
But listen, Gen Z is 11 to 26 years old right now. So anybody listening who has a kid in Gen Z or is a Gen Zer, what are you listening to? Because a lot are listening to hip hop, R&B, top 40, Taylor Swift, all that kind of stuff.
But hip hop these days is garbage.
It is terrible.
Garbage.
I mean, there's no music. It's all made with machines.
Right.
Rap. Not rap. Not Tech Nine's not made with machines.
The music is, most of it.
Oh.
I'm talking about just the music, not the lyrics.
Okay,
well,
it's still talent. It takes to pull it off.
I'm 27, and to me, dad rock is what I imagine.
You're 27?
No,
he's reading it.
I'm reading. Bailey. Bailey's 27, and to me, dad rock is what I imagined a divorced dad listened to in the garage. Stained, Puddle of Mud, Three Doors Down, Five Finger Death Punch, etc. Bailey, we are not friends.
All right.
It's Kelly, Vic, Lewis, and someone wrote in, my wife and I were traveling and scanning radio stations. Green Day comes on and we start jamming out. Song ends and the station says, "You're oldie station."
What?
And we're 35.
They called Green Day oldies?
30 years old? Almost. What was Dookie? 93, 94?
Yeah, but I don't call that oldies. My gosh. Even when, in the 80s, oldies were
the Beatles.
30 years old, yeah, I guess so.
That's what I'm saying. When you do the math, it hurts.